Welcome to our news discussion podcast. I'm Sonia, and I'm here with Simon.
Hello, I'm Simon. Today, we'll be covering several significant stories that have recently unfolded.
Let's start with the news that Apple has sued OpenAI, alleging the theft of trade secrets. The lawsuit, filed in a federal court in San Jose, California, paints a picture of an aggressive effort by OpenAI to poach Apple employees and extract confidential information.
That's quite a serious accusation. What specific trade secrets is Apple claiming were stolen?
According to the reporting, Apple alleges that OpenAI stole confidential hardware information to develop competing AI-powered devices. This marks a dramatic fallout between two companies that were key AI partners just 2 years ago.
So the allegation is that OpenAI used Apple's confidential information to build its own competing devices. How does Apple claim this happened?
The lawsuit details an aggressive recruitment campaign by OpenAI targeting Apple employees, which allegedly led to the extraction of confidential information. Apple claims that OpenAI used this information to develop its own AI capabilities.
That must have been quite concerning for Apple. What's the current status of the lawsuit?
The lawsuit is currently ongoing in a federal court in San Jose, California. Apple is seeking legal action against OpenAI and the former Apple employees.
This story highlights the intense competition in the AI space. Let's move on to another story. Swiggy Instamart has received 9 notices from the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, FSSAI, due to customer complaints about contaminated food and milk.
That's right. The FSSAI issued these notices after multiple consumer complaints alleged that Swiggy Instamart was supplying expired, spoiled, and contaminated food products. Specific products like eggs and protein powder were found unfit for consumption.
What actions is Swiggy Instamart required to take in response to these notices?
Swiggy Instamart must submit a detailed report to the FSSAI addressing the allegations and the steps they will take to rectify the situation. Failure to comply could result in legal action.
This is a serious issue as it directly affects consumer safety. Have there been any reported health incidents linked to these contaminated products?
The reporting doesn't specify any health incidents, but the FSSAI has taken the complaints seriously enough to issue multiple notices. The regulator also noted issues with FSSAI license numbers and grievance redressal mechanisms.
It's interesting to see regulatory bodies taking swift action. Moving on, there's been some development regarding a proposed data center in the tri-state city area.
Yes, the city of Trenton approved a tax abatement for tech company Prologis, which is involved in the proposed data center development in Butler County. This move is seen as a step closer to making the project a reality.
Data centers are significant infrastructure projects. What are the potential implications of this development for the local community?
The reporting suggests that the data center could bring economic benefits, but there are also concerns about energy consumption and environmental impacts. The exact details of the project's scope and potential effects are still emerging.
That's a good point. Large data centers can have substantial energy requirements. Let's switch gears to the economic news. Federal Reserve officials are concerned about persistent inflation pressures and are weighing potential interest rate hikes.
The Fed's rate-setting committee is divided on whether inflation is likely to remain elevated or cool down. Some officials favor holding rates steady, while others see rate hikes as necessary to control inflation.
What's driving this division within the committee?
The committee is awaiting crucial economic data to guide their next move. Incoming price reports will be key in determining whether to adjust interest rates.
So the decision on rate hikes is data dependent. How might different scenarios play out?
If inflation remains high, the Fed might opt for rate hikes to cool the economy. Conversely, if inflation cools, they might hold rates steady or even consider cuts if the economy slows significantly.
That makes sense. The Fed's actions will have significant implications for the economy. Finally, let's look at the news that South Africa is seeking a tariff exemption from the U.S. as the U.S. investigates imports allegedly made with forced labor.
South Africa has asked the U.S. to exempt it from proposed tariffs linked to the U.S. investigation into forced labor practices in various countries. South Africa argues that it has robust laws prohibiting forced labor.
What is the basis of the U.S. investigation and which countries are affected?
The U.S. investigation is focused on enforcing bans on imports of products made with forced labor in dozens of countries. South Africa is seeking an exemption, arguing that its laws and practices comply with international standards.
How might this exemption request affect a broader trade relationship between the U.S. and South Africa?
If South Africa is granted an exemption, it could maintain its trade benefits with the U.S. However, if the exemption is denied, South Africa could face tariffs, potentially impacting its exports to the U.S.
That's a complex issue with significant trade implications.
As we wrap up today's discussion, it's clear that these stories cover a wide range of topics, from technology and consumer safety to economic policy and international trade.
Indeed, and each of these stories has significant implications for various stakeholders. Thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you, Simon. Until next time.
Until next time.